Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video with Scooter by 666 and I'm onmyoji. Today, you know what we're going to do today? We are going to talk about our shikigamis. The reason I want to talk about our shikigamis, I get a lot of people saying, hey, I never get the, you're so lucky you got double O tangos or you got a boome, and I keep summoning. I've summoned like 100 times and I got no AoE DPS. And I'm like, well, but you get Kuro, what's his name? Kuro Muju, the taller one, not the new one that they just added, but the older Kuro. And he's a decent DPS, and they're like, yeah, he's alright, but he's not really, he's definitely no Tango or no boome. I'm like, well, just keep playing the game, man. You don't need the great SSRs to play this game. You can build really good teams out of just regular shikigamis. Even just the R-rated ones are nothing to mess with if you get the right ones. I don't know if you saw my video, but I did do a video on what do you call them? The royal battles, where I took a team of nothing but our shikigami, saw how many wins I could get. I think I got eight wins out of 10. I think that's what I got. 8 out of 10 wins, something like that. Maybe it was only 7 out of 10. I don't remember. But something like that. But seriously, our shikigamis are pretty good, so let's go to collection and go look at some of the R shikigamis. Like Mio is one they give you. Yeah, she's okay. She has she's single target DPS, so she's okay, but there's nothing really I would recommend. She'll get you by for a little while because they give you one at the beginning of the game. If you did decide to build her, you would want to put her on Seductress because her last skill hits 3 times. She can wreck somebody if you build her right, but she's not one I recommend. Zashiki, everybody knows Zashiki, right? The best orb supply in the game. Great for giving your team orbs. If you're not using Zashiki, you're probably not doing it right. Koi is actually... I'm like, what the heck is that sound? Oh yeah, I turned the sound on, didn't I? Koi, she's actually not that bad. I don't see her used very often. But she does, she has a fairly decent base speed. And, she has this bubble cage skill that can, like, be really useful, actually, in, PvP, because you can pick apart a key member on the enemy's team and just lock them up and they won't be able to do anything for one turn. And you can basically completely screw up their turn order, completely screw up their whole plan if you get her in there and have her use that skill right away. Now, there's no plus effect hit and doesn't seem to be percentage based, but it does occasionally fail. So it's not foolproof. And then she also has this bubble shield, which helps protect, it helps your team absorb damage. So she's actually not bad. You don't see a lot of people using her right now. She's crap. I don't use her. Tanuki, I'm actually going to build him at some point and play around with him. He's actually really pretty decent. His first skill, besides doing normal 100% damage, has gives a drunk mark and has a 50% chance plus effect hit of inflicting taunt. So he has a taunt built into his first skill attack skill, which it might be worth it to put him on like Scarlet so that he can counter and then taunt people. He also has a chance of falling asleep, and when he wakes up, he will revive his hit points. But that's not real super useful. This is the thing that I'm kind of interested in. I gotta figure out how this stacking works. But he inflicts burn on all enemies, dealing damage equal to 10% of his max hit points. So, let's say he has, as an example, 20,000 hit points. That means he will do 10,000 damage. Is that right? No, 2,000 damage to all enemies. Right? But what's interesting is you see skill damage increases by 8%. So does that mean that at level 2, the damage he does is equal to 18% of his hit points? So if he had 10,000 hit points, he would do 1,800 damage to all enemies? Because if that's the case, it goes up 8, 16, 24, 32%, so 42%. So if he has 20,000 hit points, he would do 8,000 damage to all enemies. That would be insane. I'm not sure if that's actually right, because that sounds a little high to me. I wonder if it's just an 8% increase on the 10%. Like 8% of the 10%. That probably is... Well, I'm going to have to play with that and find out, because if I could get him up to 30,000 hit points and then have him do 40% of that to the enemy, that's like 12,000 damage. That's actually not bad at all. And then he's super tanky too. So not only is he doing good damage, but he's tanky. I mean, he's not like, that's not the highest damage ever, but it's not low. Kappa, yeah. Okay, underrated our shikigami right here, Aguna. Really interesting. I have seen her used very seldomly in PvP, and I'm not sure why she doesn't get used more often. This skill right here, she sacrifices herself to revive all KO'd allies, restoring the hit points by 30% of her max hit points. So you make her super tanky. Let's say she has 30,000 hit points. She's going to revive them by like 9. She's going to give them all 9,500 when she dies. So what you do is, if you just are struggling with speed, instead of putting a second puller on there, just put one puller. Put her in the back, make her super tanky, make her super slow so that people go before her. And then if the enemy goes first, they attack, they kill everybody, they wipe out everybody on the team except for her. They finish going, it's her turn, and what happens? She revives everybody. And then you take your turn and you wipe them out, because they just use all their orbs. I have seen that exact thing happen to me. It was kind of annoying. Dojo, she's actually a good healer, but I don't know if I recommend her. I don't really like Gaki. Kamakui, I've seen a few people using him. He's actually kind of like the opposite of a puller. He's a pusher. I believe it's this skill right here. Nope, it's not that one. Is it? Maybe it was. Maybe it's it must be the leveled up version of this skill. Can I see that? I don't know. So anyway, he does have a skill that instead of increasing the move bar of all allies, he decreases the move bar of all enemies. So, and it's by 30% also. So it's actually the same thing. The only thing is if there's I don't know if there's a way to block that or reflect it, or if it's unblockable. Most people go for the ally buff versus the enemy debuff version, just because there's always that can it be reflected kind of thing. I don't think this can be reflected or blocked, but I'm not 100% sure. But I do know he has one more base speed than Kamatachi does when he's fully skilled up. So I believe he has 118 base speed. So he's actually faster by 1 speed. Ameona, she is a cleanser. She will remove debuffs from like everybody on your team. Samurai X, he is good crowd control, really good crowd control. You make him fast, maybe make him secondary and have him, because he has a 50% chance plus effect hit of taunting. You can just give him a lot of effect hit and make it, you know, more than 100% chance. If you get your effect hit high, over 100. Or get your effect hit up to 100 and have a 100% chance of it happening, and then, you know, minus their effect resistance. But I mean, it's a fairly decent, and then it, you know, it buffs him up or makes him harder to kill too. So that I have used that before. It's actually pretty effective. Hito Sume, he's like everybody uses him. He's pretty great. He's actually pretty good defensive monster. He increases the effect resistance of all allies and reflects back damage, 10% of damage taken. And then I think there's something else to it too, and I can't think of what it is, but after it, I think it's after you evolve him, something else happens. Tesso! Tesso's one of my favorites. I actually like Tesso a lot. I don't use him as much as I used to, but he has a 40% chance plus effect hit of doing a defense, decreasing the enemy's attack by 20%, so he has an attack break. And then he also increases your chance, or he increases the amount of coin bonus, or in coins you get. So he's the only shikigami in the game that increases the amount of coins you get from battle. But he's got a fairly decent base speed if I remember correctly. But what is it? Oh yeah, it's Golden Barrage. It's the one I really care about. Okay, so when he gets attacked, he has a 40% chance of doing an attack break. This is the one I really like. Gold Barrage. It only costs 2, and that's the reason I like it. It costs 2, and it's an AoE attack. And it only does 44% of his attack and damage, but it has a 50% chance plus effect hit of increasing the damage that the enemy takes by 30% for 2 turns. And then what you do is you give him like Mimic or something, because it's a double hit. It hits 2 times and has a 50% chance plus effect hit of doing a defense break. Plus if you put Mimic on him, then he can just, and give him high effect hit, he can hit all kinds of status effects on the enemy, and it only costs 2 orbs. So that's actually really useful. Because it only costs 2 orbs. Shutsu, like everybody's using Shutsu. So hopefully you know what she does and why she's useful. It's mostly because of water circuit. It links all of the allies together and makes it like one large hit point pool. Shares the damage between all your team. Kanko doesn't really seem very useful, but he does have, what is it? I'm trying to remember what the weird skill is for Kanko. Kanko channels magic into his bamboo pipe, sending 10% of his current hit points. He shoots lightning at the enemy, dealing damage equal to 155% of his attack, with 40% chance of removing 1 orb from the opponent. Chance increases to 80% when launching a critical hit. So if you build him crit, he has an 80% chance of removing an orb and spends 10% of his health to do 155% of his attack. And that only costs 1 orb. But this is the big thing right here. Bamboo shelter costs 0. He hides inside his bamboo pipe from attacks and recharges his power. The bamboo pipe inherits 15% of Kango's max hit points and 200% of his defense. If the pipe is destroyed, daze is inflicted on Kango for 1 turn. Kango can hide in his bamboo pipe consecutive times, but the pipe hit points do not refresh. Each additional turn he hides in his pipe increases the damage of his next damage by 100% of maximum, or damage by 100% to a maximum of 500%. So you can hide in the pipe like several turns in a row and increase his damage like exponentially, and then he can just completely wreck anybody in his path when he comes out. Yamasagi is a puller. Everybody uses him almost solely because of bunny dance. 30% chance of increase or raising the move bar, and he's really easy to get. So, super important shikigami that everybody knows about and should use. Kusa, I like Kusa. Most people use a different healer. I just like her for like longer runs. She's a decent healer because her heal is based on attack. So she also she heals all allies by 87% of her attack, and crit does affect her heal. So you can give her a standard like a shadow set or just, you know, any attack, crit, whatever. And she'll be pretty useful. You could give her like what is it, Tree Spirit, and just have it be like attack and crit. And she'll heal the crap out of people. Mine, I think she's only a G5, and let's go look. What is mine? She's a G5. That's all of her attack is right now. She's got a 78% crit, 2,700, plus 2,700 attack and 1,600, so like, I don't know, like, what is that, 4,300? But she typically heals the whole team when she crits for 7,200 or so. And it only costs 2 orbs to do that. So her heal is actually pretty effective because it hits the whole team and only costs 2 orbs. But, you know, I can see why people would like some of the other healers, because most of the other healers are hit point based heals, so there's that too. Chocho, she's a single target healer, but the big thing with her is, first of all, she moves faster up to a plus 30 speed when the enemy or the ally with the lowest hit points loses 30% of her health, so she'll get to go way faster all of a sudden if people start getting hurt. And the big thing is she has a cleanse, which can be useful. Yamaru, he's okay. He could be useful. Technically, you could put him on Mimic because he's a triple hit. He's a 3x hit. With that skill, he could be useful for that. Jakiro is actually a kind of an interesting R shikigami. If you like luck and dice roll type randomized damage monsters, he can actually really mess people up hardcore. In fact when I was doing the Royal Battle only R shikigami, I was using him, and there were a few battles I should have lost and won just because of him. Mostly because of this. When he gets KO'd, he uses Tile Fling on all allies without spending any orbs, and it revives him immediately if there are equal numbers on the dice roll. So there's a chance he can get revived after being killed. And he uses this skill on everybody for no orbs when he dies. And this skill is he rolls the dice for the target enemy and hits them for 49% of his attack times the number on the dice roll. So if the dice roll is a 6, it will be 49% of his attack 6 times. He can use that with this when he dies on everybody on the enemy team. So he can literally, you build him you put him on a Seductress set and make him DPS, and then they kill him, and then he wrecks their entire team. It's actually hilarious. Usagi is kind of a special monster. Korra, it's just new. I don't actually have her yet. The silence prank thing is really weird. I'm not going to say that that's useful. Momo is actually a really good healer. Everybody should have some idea of how Momo works. Yukiona, everybody gets her. She's a freeze monster, AoE freeze, sort of a backup DPS freeze, crowd control kind of monster. Kuro, everybody gets him. He is the one you would use for AoE DPS if you don't have Obume or Otengo. If you don't get Otengo or Obume, you get this guy, I think, around chapter 9 or 10. I don't remember. But if you don't get Obume and you don't have Otengo, this is your backup AoE DPS monster. Him and Inugami can kind of do it a little bit too. What am I doing? These aren't S... Oh, I'm past... Technically, starting at Momo, we're into SRs. I had forgotten about that. I apologize. Alright, I guess we're done. So, that's it. You know, seriously, you guys. If you can't... Oops. No. No, don't do that. If you can't get SSR monsters, the one that you really want, there are seriously some really good just plain old rare monsters or SR monsters that you can use. They work just fine. You seriously do not need Utengo or Yorihime. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having them or using them because they are great monsters for sure. But you don't need to. You don't need them. There are things you can do. You can put Hitosume on like Jizo Statue or Mirror Lady, and on a team with Shutsu and a healer, and already your team is almost going to be impossible to kill. And then you put them on, you know, you put a counter monster, you put a couple counter monsters in there with them, and you let your team stay alive, and you keep reviving and healing your team and counterattacking, and eventually they die. It works really well. You use Jizo Statue because it almost, if you get enough hit points, it almost negates some AoE DPS monsters sometimes. Alright, well that's all I got for today, you guys. Take it easy. Hope you have a good one and enjoy the video. If you didn't enjoy the video, let me know. Let me know in the comments what you thought or what you want to know about or what you have to say. Anything. Seriously. Take it easy, guys.